Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 257 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today, I welcomed a Charleston, South Carolina native and independent artist, Rebekah Faith. Rebekah was actually introduced to me through my good friend and collaborator, Jailan Williams, who also lives in South Carolina. I'm not sure how those two initially got connected, but I'm glad that he sent her information my way. And we had originally talked about doing this a few months back. We got it scheduled for this past week, and we finally made it happen. We had a pretty good conversation this week. We talked about her beginnings in music, kind of having it evolved since the beginning, her love for singing, taking vocal lessons, and also learning guitar, kind of being able to incorporate both. And she talked about the importance of having that in her repertoire to be able to do more live performances. And as live performances are such a big part of what she does, she talked about, having goals to do a lot more events in the Charleston area and just in South Carolina and beyond in general, moving forward, being able to have more time now that school is done for the semester to be able to perform. She's working on a lot more music as well that she's going to be releasing soon. She talked about wanting to work with more people, do more collaborations. So overall, just a lot of cool goals that she has in mind. So definitely tap in with her and what she's doing. And I hope you guys enjoy this one as always. Without further ado, let's get into it. So welcome everyone to episode 257 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today we have a Charleston-based singer, songwriter, indie artist, someone who was actually recommended to me by my good buddy Jailan Williams. Shout out to Jailan for connecting us today. Everybody, please welcome Rebekah Faith to the show. How you doing today, Rebekah?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great. Like I said, thank you for agreeing to be on the show. We've been talking about it for a couple months, and I'm happy to have you here. And we usually give, the guests the opportunity starting out here. Just let us know, who you are, how you got into music, just some basic info for those that might not know you and what you do.
Well, my name is Rebekah Faith. I've been playing around the Charleston area since I was 10, so it's going on 6 or 7 years now. I've had a love for music really since I was very, very young. My parents would play music for me all the time, and I started singing ever since I could talk. That's what my mom says. I've grown up with music, so it's like a part of me, and it truly inspires me. So I thought, I couldn't go on without, having it in my life, and knowing that I just want to pursue it, and I want to see how it can help others as well.
Yeah. And I usually like to ask, especially for people that have had it involved, pretty much since the beginning, because you're not always, I feel like when you're growing up, even if you love it and you're doing it, you're not necessarily thinking about being an artist at that time. Right. I think it's in your later years that you're like, okay, I want to pursue this, make this maybe a career, or maybe at least something that you can have as like a hobby that really drives you on the day to day. So was there a certain moment in the last few years where you really started focusing on where you're headed as an artist specifically now?
Well, for a while, ever since I was younger, I would say maybe around 8 to 10, I felt that I was drawn to be being an artist and going that path for my life. But when I was put into singing lessons, and I was able to perform around town. They gave the opportunity for that, and it was around that time I would say that I was starting to feel comfortable around and in front of an audience. So I was this is definitely something that I would love to do. It's just rewarding within itself.
Yeah. And is that something that you because you said that was around the time you got comfortable, doing live performances and things like that. Do you feel like every year that you've done performances that it's gotten a little easier as you've gone on every time?
I'd say so, yeah. Mm-hmm. Because once I'm especially the longer the performance goes on, I feel more like almost like familiar with my audience. Like as I'm like going on with the performance, I'm like, okay, these people have been here, they've like, heard a couple songs, I start to get more like comfortable with it.
Yeah.
As the night goes on.
Yeah. What do you think is tougher? Is it tougher to keep getting the same type of audience members to come back for other shows, or is it tougher to perform in front of, let's say, a new crowd of people that have never heard your stuff before? What do you think is the bigger challenge?
That's a really good question. I'd say it's pretty difficult because usually I try to promote my performances and like events and stuff around town, but I never really expect or are sure if anyone else is going to come back for the next one. I'm kind of just like performing for everyone that's actively there. Like, I'm just like, if you're here, I'm so happy. If you can't come to the next one, it's okay. Like, I'm always just wanting people to like be there so I can play.
Yeah, for sure. And are you doing mostly kind of local events,
yes,
local venues, things like that?
As of right now, but I do plan to expand a little more. I've played a couple times in Tennessee, but not like big things. It's just like bars.
Yeah, for sure. And I noticed as well that you play guitar as well. So how did that journey begin for you? Did it begin around the time when you started singing, you picked up playing guitar as well, or did that happen later on in time?
It happened later on. My parents got me into doing lessons for guitar as well around the age of 12. And I had started teaching myself, but we knew that it would help, like, going further on with lessons. And I had just I had wanted to start like being able to go myself around town and accompany myself, and that's definitely helped me a lot in my journey so far.
Yeah, for sure. I got to give you credit because I'm someone that took guitar lessons when I was younger. This was long before I even thought I wanted to do music. I didn't have the patience for that at all. Like it was
time consuming.
Yeah, for sure. And not only that, I think it was like the fact that because I feel like I did it when I was probably 9 or 10 years old. I just feel like I didn't have the patience for it at that time. Like I felt like I wanted to still do a lot of kid things, so I didn't have the patience and the work ethic to kind of sit down and learn it and do those things. So even to be able to stick with it and then also be perfecting, your vocal skills as well on top of that, I can imagine that's a lot of work to put in.
It's definitely a challenge, especially because I'm a full-time student. So it's like, I feel bad because sometimes I don't get to music as much as I would like to.
Yeah.
But that's what I love the summer for, so I can like dedicate a lot of time to that and performing around town and stuff.
For sure. And that leads into another good question. I asked this to a lot of people as well about kind of finding your own balance. So you said you're in school as well. And I know that takes a lot of dedication. That takes a lot of time, like you said, out of your day. How do you think you found the balance, let's say over the last 6 months to a year? What does that balance look like for you as far as being able to juggle all those different things?
Honestly, it's not super balanced, to be like completely transparent. I definitely am seeking more balance. Like I want to make it more balanced, but I would say last year it was definitely more like put together of a schedule. I was able to get it's kind of difficult sometimes, especially depending on the time of year, to like find events to play at. And especially with school focusing on it, that's very difficult. But sometimes I will put a time aside specifically just for contacting people, just to find like places to play at and stuff.
Yeah. And I can imagine with the summertime coming up, there's probably going to be a lot of opportunities to perform as well. So. Yeah. Do you have anything like booked out currently that you have on the calendar?
I have a couple fairs, or not kind of, like local fairs and stuff. I definitely do want to play. I played this year, or 2024, I played at the Coastal Carolina Fair, and I would really like to go back. But yeah, I have a couple, but I'm also like looking, because I wanted to put together a sort of like small tour along the coast just to play stuff that I've written.
Hey there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that Ko-fi link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. Yeah, that would be really cool as well. And it'd be a great way to connect with more people in the area too, I can imagine. So, and as far as, being able to collaborate, meet different musicians in the area as well, we mentioned that Jailan was the one that got us connected. So shout out to Jailan once again. So obviously he's someone that you've met and you've had experience working with in some degree. Is there anybody else you want to give a shout out to that or just someone you've been connected with recently?
Well, here recently I've been working on a song with my buddy Jackson Slabo. I think I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, but he does lo-fi music, and he is like a wizard at mastering music alone, which is something that I find very difficult. And you, but yeah, I've found connection with several people online, in person, around me within music, and I'm very thankful for that. Yeah,
for sure. So if he does a lo-fi, does that kind of mean you're looking to maybe genre blend a little bit, kind of try some different sounds coming up?
Yeah.
How's that been going?
Along like a path of chill music, so.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you dropped a single at the end of 2024 as well. So tell us about that track and maybe give us a preview of what's to come, because I know you said before we started recording you have a lot of music coming up here.
Yes, it was really, because it was my first song that I've released, it was more experimental than anything. I wrote about my past, and it was just something I was learning to work in the studio myself and put things together, and it was kind of like just a DIY kind of thing. Yep. But I definitely do want to continue working on putting songs together in the studio and mastering things. I have a lot of songs written that I need to just finally sit down and record, and that's what I definitely plan on hopefully releasing this summer, several different songs or even an album. Hopefully.
For sure. That's very exciting as well. And even since you kind of started that process of going to these studios, recording, songwriting, how do you think the evolution of your songwriting has come along since the beginning of that process up until now? Have you felt more comfortable each time you're writing and making a new song?
I would definitely say so, yes. I look back at, because when I was younger, I used to write down papers, lyrics that I thought would be cool. Mm-hmm. And I look back at those and I'm like, that is definitely not something I would consider recording because it doesn't flow very well. Mm-hmm. I would say I would say it definitely has changed along the way. And I do feel more comfortable with just going with the flow. I go back to things, I change them. And sometimes even now I'll go back to a song just from a month ago and I'll be like, I don't even know what I was thinking there, but I'll definitely,
It shows the growth too, I think, when you're able to kind of look back on your previous work and just see how far you've come in that as well.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we can get caught up in almost wanting that to be perfect. But I think the more you keep going, it's wow, it just got easier from there. And it's almost like you don't ever have to go back, or maybe not ever have to go back, but it's you have to go back less the more you go. Because I feel you're just getting better at your craft as you continue on and write more songs. And I also think that a lot of people, they always think they have to put out everything they make. It's you can just make things and just see where it goes. Right. And if you feel confident enough about it, then you can put it out. for people.
Yes.
So have you experienced that in any of the songs you've made recently?
Definitely. I have a bunch of, I'll have little like quick things that will come to me, and I'll write them down, and then I'll be like, I definitely don't think that I would, I would maybe consider recording. I wouldn't like actually spend time, like as much time on that as the other songs that I'm more serious about.
Yeah. And as far as like, finding inspiration, because obviously that's a huge thing as a musician, kind of channeling life into your music, where do you think you're finding the most inspiration right now in your own life?
God. I definitely would say God. I'm a spiritual person, and I also have an awesome church that I go to. So when I go there and they play music, I'm like, that's awesome. Like, it's very inspiring. And then I would say musicians that I'm inspired by, I have a couple. I would say like Joni Mitchell, Lizzie McAlpine, and Vince Gill. They're a variety of different genres, but they inspire me very much. And when I listen to them, I'm like, this is definitely something, that I want to be all in.
Yeah, it makes you want to go and create your own journey and your own path from there. So, definitely. Yeah. And do you ever play in the church as well? Like, have you ever been asked to perform anything?
I want to.
Yeah.
When I was younger, my mom sang in church. This was a different church we would go to. She would sing in the choir, and I would sit in the pews and listen to them, and I would sing along. So I definitely, I want to look more into that, especially this summer as well, because I would love to, play with them. Yeah,
for sure. Because I know there's a lot of opportunities in that as well. And I know like a lot of churches, especially in the warmer months, do outdoor performances and different events, things like that. So that would be really cool if you can do something like that coming up. So, yeah, but congrats on that, because I think that's super important to be able to have those outlets as well and be able to channel that inspiration in that way. And we're down to the last few questions here. These are ones I ask on every episode that I do. The first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
Oh man, that's really difficult. I'm not entirely sure, honestly. I would just say to soak up every moment, memory. Music-wise, actually, 10 years ago, I was just playing piano. I definitely hadn't learned to play guitar yet. But I would just say to soak up every moment. Just, of course, as a kid, that's difficult, but just, be present, of course. Live and have fun.
Yeah. That's all you can do at the end of the day, too.
It's true.
And I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know you played piano, so that's incredible, too.
It was a very short span.
Okay.
As of now, I just remember vaguely a couple chords.
I was going to say, because I know for a fact that's way harder to learn than a lot of instruments.
Oh, piano?
So, yeah.
Yeah, it is a difficult one. I definitely, it was a very short time.
Would you ever pick it back up?
What's that? Sorry, it lagged.
No, I said, would you ever consider picking it back up and
Absolutely.
learning? You would?
There's not a single instrument that I wouldn't consider picking up.
Yeah.
Like I would, if I had, if I had so many more hours in the day, I would just Yeah,
for sure. Well, if we flip that previous question then and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in music and in life in general also?
I really do pray that I am 10 years from now, I would love to be playing for larger audiences, of course. Mm-hmm. And I would love to have a good bit of songs and albums out. And I would love to do collabs with bigger artists. That's something I definitely want to have as a milestone, is opening for several different artists. Yeah. If I can find a way to do so. But yeah.
It'd be cool to do some in the area and then maybe tour with artists as well. That would be awesome.
Yeah. That would be great. I would love that.
Yeah. Definitely awesome goals to shoot for in the future there. And do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
These. final words of wisdom, I would just say, if you're passionate about something and you think that it's like, not within reach, never give it up. Even if it's like, something you don't think you could make your career, I would just say it can always be there for you, and it can always be a big part of your life. I know there's so many musicians out there that have like, always loved music, but it wasn't until, later in life that they even decided to fully go for it.
Yeah.
So I would just definitely say that, always take that leap of faith.
Yeah. And it's never too late to do that either.
Absolutely.
Like you just said.
Yeah,
so
never too late.
Yeah. Well, Rebekah, I got to say again, thank you so much for stopping by today. That's all I have for you. But like I said, congrats on everything you got coming up, everything you got going on right now.
Thank you.
And again, shout out to Jailan for putting us in touch. So thank you to him. And feel free to stop back anytime. I'd love to have you back on soon, and we can catch up. And
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
This has been a great talk.
100%.
And it's great meeting you.
Thanks everyone for listening today. That was episode 257. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit that support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send us any funds. And feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. And be sure to tune in every Tuesday night, twitch.tv/AnthonyChurch24 for more exclusive and in-depth content. But until next week, we'll see you then. Thanks as always for listening.